So a lot of the doctors, Ghanaian doctors, Nigerian doctors that I've met in the States, for example, who are doing amazing things in surgery, they started with Kolebu. And I said Ghanaians and Nigerians, meaning that the Nigerians came to school here. They started with Kolebu, then they went there to specialize. Some came back, some didn't. So what I'll say is, you always have to remind the student where he or she comes from. You come from Ghana. You've lived here. You went to an international school, but somehow the country has birthed you and raised you. Remember that. So whatever you do is for the greater good, and you must come back home at some point in your life. And I'm proud to say that a lot of my students who have finished, my juniors, my mates, are back in Ghana and they're doing amazing things.
It's good, so long as they come back home.
As long as they come back home.
So they're contributing in one way or the other. So, what are you doing now?
What am I doing now? My full-time job, I work at City FM at Adabraka. My job is twofold. I'm a production executive, so I produce 2 shows. The Traffic Avenue, which is typically a drive show, Monday to Friday. And on Thursday evenings, Sister, which centers on relationship issues and, you know, sort of the
That's
things
with
that we
Jessica,
with
right?
Jessica. Both shows are with Jessica.
Okay.
Yes, both shows are with Jessica.
Interesting.
But then there's something else that I do that is called brand insistence.
Brand
Do you
insistence?
know what brand insistence is?
I've heard something about it like that. Why don't you educate us?
Okay. Let's take it that these are 2 different brands.
Okay.
You have the black brand and the brown brand.
What is a brand in your perspective?
Okay. When you speak of a brand, your brand ranges or encompasses everything from your name, your appearance, your function, you know, also the people who your brand targets and the people who buy your product or your service. Encompasses so many different things. So it's the total package.
Okay.
So when I say brown, the brown brand, it's not just about what it looks like or what color it is, but there's a whole lot in there. Maybe these are sunglasses, so they obviously do something that these don't do. The black brand is for sight, so it does something that the brown brand doesn't do. So people who have eye issues would typically go for a black brand, and people who have problems with light would go for a brown brand. So your brand encompasses so many different things beyond the visual or the physical.
Okay.
It's also a matter of perceptions.
Okay.
What kind of presence have you made within people's minds?
Okay.
So that now I perceive your brand to be able to solve this problem that I have,
Okay.
as opposed to the next brand. So in anything that you do where branding is concerned, you have to make sure that what meets the eye can simulate and seep into the subconscious and the emotional, the mental, so that it's a total, you know, perception of your brand.
Okay.
Okay. So we have what we call brand availability. Now, assuming you, Papa, you walk into a shop and you see the brown brand and the black brand on the shelf, they're 2 different brands. Perhaps you don't know much about either of them. So as far as you're concerned, they look alike. You wear them on your face. So you buy any. But then after some time, you move to brand preference. You've tried both of them and you realize that there's some functions that work best for you, the brown brand, and for that reason, you'd always choose that over the black. So you don't even look this way, you just pick up brown. But now in the event, assuming so many people think like you, so brown runs out quite quickly. In the event that you can't get the brown, you're all for going for the black because it can perform some function to some extent of what the brown can do for you. So even though you prefer the brown, in its absence, you take a black. But now with brand insistence, you always insist, literally, on your brown. So even when brown is not available, you're totally reluctant to go for black. You don't see it as a substitute for your brown in any under any circumstances, whatever. So once brown is not there, you're literally not going to go without that good or that service until brown is back on the market. And that is one of the jobs I have at City FM, to make City FM so indispensable from the lives of our listeners that in its absence, if we're off air, people don't want to listen to anything else.
Interesting. Interesting. So, what does your job entail? What do you have to do?
So brand assistance doesn't stand on its own. First of all, you need to know what the City FM brand is. What do we stand for? We aim to be the most influential radio station, and we want to attract the most discerning listenership. And we want to do that through quality and innovative programming. And that's a mouthful. It's threefold. You want to be the most influential, you want to attract the most discerning listenership, and you want to do that through quality and innovative programming. Now, City FM, the structure is such that programming is not limited to on-air. Everything that happens within the building is, as you know, in a bid to make the final product on air come out right. But then we also have a very vibrant events unit. We have events like December to Be Remembered, which one of your biggest hip life concerts in Christmas. We have the City Business Olympics, which has become one of the largest sports corporate networking events in the country. You have big events like that. Now, how do you make those things influence your on-air product and vice versa? That's one thing that brand assistance would entail. Now, secondly, you have the sales department. They're the ones who meet with your clients. They bring in the revenue that we need to drive all the other things that we do. How can you let your salespeople understand that when they go out there, they need to sell the product in such a way that people think, oh my God, if I don't advertise with City FM,
Like the American salesman.
I can't do anything else like the American salesman. Now, that can be challenging if you don't know who your competition is. So, who's our competition? There are certain radio stations that we don't consider our competition because they do strictly entertainment, or they're tree speaking stations and we're an English speaking station, so we don't even want to compete with them. You know, we acknowledge that. But then there are some that run the mixed formats radio that we do. There's a bit of business in there, there's politics, there's your entertainment, there's social issues. So we look at those people and we say, okay, who has first mover advantage? Private radio is only as old as, let's say, 19, 20 years. Who entered the market first? The Ghanaians are very conservative when they're choosing their products and what they like. So people would advertise or listen to it listen to a station simply because they've been on the market for a long time.
Used to them for a while.
Precisely. So it's a challenging job for a salesperson. So now my job is to sit in all those meetings, think of innovative things, and let people sell. So I tell my sales executives, when you go out there, sell it this way instead of that way. Fine. LPMs and jingles and whatnot. But food is good. Yeah, I'm a foodie as well.
Hey, it's breakfast.
No, he's saying this.
Breakfast, so.
Yeah, and I'm having pasta.
That looks good.
It does. I can do pasta 3 times a day.
Wow. Wow.